It was a warm Monday morning. People walked in and out of the bank. Most came to deposit checks or take out money. Everything seemed normal. Then a woman stepped inside. She wore a neat black suit. Her shoes were polished. Her walk was confident. Her face was calm. She looked like someone who knew what she wanted. She stood tall, strong and graceful, but no one paid much attention to her. To the staff, she looked like just another customer. The woman walked to the front desk. "I'd like to withdraw some cash from my business account," she said politely. The young man at the desk glanced at her, then at the form in her hand. He nodded and said, "Please wait. I'll call the manager." She stepped aside and waited quietly. When the manager walked out, everything changed. He was a tall man in his 40s. His face was stiff and his eyes were sharp. He looked at the woman for a few seconds, up and down, before speaking. "Do you even have an account here?" he asked with doubt in his voice. The woman raised an eyebrow. Still calm, she said, "Yes, I do." He crossed his arms. "This is a corporate branch. Are you sure you're in the right place?" She didn't answer with anger. She simply took out her ID and a bank document with her account number. "This is my account," she said. "I need to withdraw funds today." The manager looked at the paper, then back at her. He smirked. "I'll have to verify this with the head office," he said. "It may take a while." The woman's calm eyes didn't change. "Why?" "Everything is correct." He shrugged. "You wouldn't understand. It's policy." Other staff members nearby giggled quietly. One whispered something to another. A few customers looked up from their phones. Some noticed what was happening, but most stayed quiet. The woman stood still. She didn't argue, but her eyes noticed everything. The looks, the whispers, the smirk on the manager's face. Something felt wrong. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about policy. It was about judgment. They looked at her and decided she didn't belong there. The manager looked at her again. "Maybe you should come back later, with someone from your company. Someone who handles the accounts." She looked him in the eye. "I do handle the accounts," she said softly. The manager turned and walked away without replying. The woman stood there. For a moment, it was quiet. She looked around the room. She looked at the security cameras in the corners. She looked at the young staff member behind the counter, the one who had smiled politely when she first came in. He now looked uncomfortable, watching silently. Then she reached into her handbag and pulled out her phone. She didn't call anyone right away. First, she opened the camera app and took a picture of the room. Then, she clicked a number on speed dial. She turned her back to the front desk and spoke in a low voice. "Hello. Yes, it's me. I need the team here. Right now." She hung up. She didn't look angry. She didn't raise her voice. She just stood there like she was waiting for something. The staff whispered again. "Who does she think she is?" one asked. Another replied, "Probably just showing off. She's not getting any money today." The manager walked past again. "You can leave now, ma'am. We can't help you today." The woman smiled, just a small smile. "I'll wait," she said. And she did. 5 minutes passed, then 6. At exactly 7 minutes, the sound of tires screeched outside. Black cars pulled up to the front of the bank. The doors opened, and 3 people stepped out. They wore formal suits. One carried a file. Another had a badge on their jacket. They didn't walk. They marched inside, straight to the front desk, straight past security, straight to her. The woman didn't say a word. She simply turned and pointed at the manager. The leader of the team asked, "Is that him?" She nodded once. Customers inside the bank looked up. Phones came out. People started recording. The air changed. Everyone could feel it. Something big was about to happen. Cliffhanger. The woman looked at the manager, calmly, silently. The room fell silent after her words. "You're going to regret this day," The manager forced a laugh. Regret? Ma'am, I've told you already, without proper verification, I can't release any money to you. But his voice was shaky now. The three people in suits moved closer. The man in front spoke firmly. We're here on her behalf. We need access to your office. Now. The manager looked confused. Who are you people? The woman finally spoke again, her tone soft, but powerful. They work for the parent company of this bank. I called them. The manager's smile faded. What? Customers and staff were now staring. No one was pretending to ignore the situation anymore. Phones were out. Some were recording. Some were live streaming. The young staff member who had first helped the woman watched with wide eyes. He looked nervous, like he knew something bad was coming. One of the suited men pulled out a folder. We have full rights to audit this branch immediately. The manager's face turned red. There's no need for that, he said quickly. This is a misunderstanding. The woman tilted her head slightly. You denied my request. You questioned my identity. You laughed at me. And now you want to call it a misunderstanding. The manager tried to smile again, but it looked fake. Let's go to my office. We can talk. The woman didn't move. I will go, she said, but they're coming with me. Everything must be transparent. The manager nodded slowly. He turned and walked toward his office. The woman and the team followed. As they disappeared into the hallway, whispers filled the bank. Who is she? Did she say parent company? She's got real power. Inside the office, the manager sat behind his desk, trying to look calm. The woman sat across from him. The others remained standing. The woman placed her phone on the table and pressed record. I want this documented, she said, every word. The manager's hand trembled slightly. She leaned forward. This morning, I walked into this branch to withdraw money from my company's account. You judged me based on how I looked. You refused service. You laughed at me. You made fun of me in front of your staff and customers. He opened his mouth, but she held up a hand. Don't deny it. It's all on camera. Your security system recorded everything. The suited man behind her spoke now. We've already contacted it. The footage has been saved. The manager slumped in his chair. Why did you treat her like that? The man asked. Do you do this with all business clients? The manager shook his head. No, of course not. Then why today? The woman asked. What made you so sure I didn't belong here? The manager didn't answer. Silence. You didn't recognize me, she continued. You didn't know who I was. But that's no excuse. You treated me with disrespect because you saw a black woman and assumed she couldn't be important. The words hit hard. The manager looked down. Do you know what the worst part is? She asked, her voice suddenly softer. This is not the first time this has happened to someone like me, but it will be the last time it happens to me. She stood up. I own the company that controls your salary. I signed your last promotion papers. I know your record. His eyes widened. Wait, you're? Yes, she said. I'm the CEO. He froze. His mouth opened, but no words came out. I built this company from nothing. I made it successful. I hired you because I believed you were professional. The suited man stepped forward again. And now you've proven you are not. We have the authority to take action today. The woman looked straight into the manager's eyes. You're suspended. Effective immediately. Further actions will be discussed with HR. The manager stood up. Please, this is all a mistake. I didn't mean. She shook her head. It's too late. The door opened. The young staff member entered slowly. I'm sorry, he said. I saw what happened. I wanted to help, but I didn't know what to do. The woman gave a small smile. You stayed respectful. I noticed that. She turned to the suited man. Make a note. I want him to be considered for training and advancement. The manager looked shocked. You're promoting him. The woman nodded. Respect and fairness matter more than years of service. She walked out of the office. The manager stayed behind, stunned, broken, and silent. The entire bank watched as she walked past. Her eyes were calm again. But the room was filled with energy. She had come for a simple withdrawal. Now, everything had changed. Cliffhanger. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and frowned. Another branch. Another problem. She turned to her team. "Let's go," she said. "It looks like this is bigger than one bank." The black cars moved through the city quickly. Inside the back seat, the woman sat silently, her eyes on her phone. Her team sat with her. No one spoke much. The mood was serious. The phone screen showed an email. Subject: URGNT. Second branch reports similar incident. The message came from her assistant. Another bank branch. Another manager. Same kind of disrespect. She sighed. This wasn't just one bad manager. This was something deeper. She looked at the man beside her. "Call ahead. We're not going to wait this time. Pull the records. Get all complaints filed in the last 6 months." He nodded and started typing. The car stopped in front of another bank. Same company, different location. It looked peaceful from the outside. But the CEO knew better now. They stepped out. Inside, the branch manager was already standing near the front desk. He had received the call. He looked nervous but tried to act calm. He smiled when she walked in. "Good afternoon, ma'am. How can I help you today?" She looked straight at him. "You know who I am." "Yes," he said. "We were told you'd be visiting." She walked closer. "Then let me ask you something directly. Why did your staff refuse to help a woman named Janet Thomas last week?" The manager blinked. I don't know anything about that." Her team member stepped forward. "We have a report. Janet Thomas came here to open a business account. She had all her documents. Your staff laughed at her name, told her she was in the wrong place, and asked her to leave." The manager's hands trembled. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe she didn't have the right papers. "She did," the woman said sharply. "And you know that." The young teller at the counter tried to look away. The woman stepped back and turned to the room. Customers watched quietly again. Staff stood frozen. The mood changed just like before. "I want everyone to hear this," she said. "This company was built to support all people. Every customer should feel respected. Every employee should be treated with fairness." She raised her voice just a little. "But what we're seeing here is a pattern, a habit of judging people by how they look, how they dress, or the color of their skin. That ends today." The room stayed silent. Her team laid files on the manager's desk. Inside were copies of complaints, customer emails, and even internal warnings that had been ignored. "This isn't about one person anymore," her assistant said. "This is about culture. And it starts at the top." The manager's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The woman looked at him. "You are suspended. An investigation begins today. If you are found responsible for hiding or ignoring discrimination, your job will be permanently removed." The teller behind the counter spoke up suddenly. "Ma'am, I was there when Janet came in. I didn't say anything. I should have helped." The woman turned to him. "Why didn't you?" He lowered his head. "Because my supervisor told me not to interfere. He said, people like her just want to cause trouble." The woman's jaw tightened. "Thank you for telling the truth," she said gently. "That takes courage. Don't ever stay silent again." She pointed to her assistant. "Add his name to the training program. He deserves a second chance." The teller looked up in shock. "Really?" She nodded. "Everyone makes mistakes. The brave ones admit them." She turned and walked toward the exit. Outside, the reporters were already waiting. Somehow, word had spread. "Mom," one of them shouted, "is it true you're personally reviewing bank branches now? Are these isolated incidents? Are people losing their jobs?" She paused for a moment, then faced the cameras. "No," she said, "these are not isolated. This is a sickness inside the system, a sickness of judgment, of disrespect, and of silent approval. And yes, people will lose their jobs if they treat others unfairly. Flashes from cameras lit up her face. Too many people have suffered in silence, she continued. That ends now. My company does not stand for this. I do not stand for this. She stepped into her car again. Her assistant leaned over and showed her the next message. Another report. The third branch. This time, an elderly black veteran denied entry. The woman closed her eyes for a moment. It was worse than she thought. She looked at her team. We're not just solving problems anymore, she said quietly. We're starting a movement. Cliffhanger. As the car drove away, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a report. It was a threat. Back off, or we'll destroy everything you've built. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't reply. But she knew this fight had just turned into a war. The black car moved through the city streets as rain began to fall. But inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. The woman stared at her phone. The message was short, but dangerous. Back off, or we'll destroy everything you've built. Her assistant leaned closer. Do you think it's real? She didn't answer. Her eyes were cold now. Focused. It's real, she finally said. And it means we're getting close to something big. The man beside her frowned. Who would send that kind of message? She looked outside the window as the city lights passed by. Someone who's scared. The threat didn't frighten her. It confirmed something she had already suspected. This wasn't just a case of one bad employee, or even a few. This was bigger. Someone, or some group, wanted to protect this toxic behavior. And now, they were targeting her. Let's increase security, she said, and prepare a press statement. I want to speak out, loud and clear. Her assistant nodded and made the call. As the car drove to the company's headquarters, she thought about how far she had come. Years ago, she was just another name no one knew. A young black woman with a dream, and 100 doors slammed in her face. But she kept pushing. She built her business from the ground up. She faced racism, disrespect, and failure. Now she was the CEO of one of the most powerful financial firms in the country. And yet, she was still being judged, still being threatened. But not this time. Not anymore. At the headquarters, her team gathered in the main meeting room. Everyone looked serious, worried. She walked in, holding the phone with the message. This threat came directly to me, she said. That means whoever is behind this feels cornered. One of the directors stood. We can report it to the police. Let them handle it. She shook her head. I want more than that. I want names. I want to know who in our system is hiding this behavior. And I want to know why. Another manager spoke. If we go that deep, we may find people we trusted. She looked straight at him. Then we'll deal with them too. No one is untouchable. She held up a file. I've already found something. She opened it slowly. This is a list of complaints, flagged and then deleted before anyone could investigate them. Gasps filled the room. Who deleted them? Someone asked. She turned to her assistant, who pulled up the computer system. There's a name, he said. An internal security officer, James Carter. She nodded slowly. Get him here. Now. 10 minutes later, a tall man in a gray suit entered the room. He looked calm, but the tension was clear. You wanted to see me, he asked. She didn't waste time. Why did you delete complaints from customers and staff? His eyes shifted. I didn't delete anything without instruction. She raised her eyebrow. Whose instruction? He hesitated. Everyone leaned forward. I was told to clean the system, he said, to avoid negative reports getting to investors. Who told you that? He paused again, then quietly said a name. A senior board member. Someone powerful. Someone close to the top. The room fell silent. The woman didn't blink. I want a full investigation on every person connected to this, she said. Start tonight. The man in gray looked nervous now. Ma'am, are you sure you want to go this deep? It could shake the whole company. She stood tall. I didn't build this company to be a place where the truth hides in shadows. Her voice was strong now. I built it to shine. Everyone in the room stood. They knew this was no longer a business meeting. This was a fight for what was right. Late that night, her phone buzzed again. A new message. This one was from a former employee. Thank you. I was fired last year for speaking up, but now I feel seen. She smiled softly. The pain, the fight, it was worth it. But then came another message. Anonymous. Cold. You won't stop us. We were here before you, and we'll be here after you. She looked at the screen for a long time. Then she whispered to herself, No, you won't. Cliffhanger. Suddenly, her assistant burst into the room. Ma'am, we just found something. A secret meeting. Tomorrow morning. High-level board members. They're trying to remove you. She looked up slowly. Let them try. The next morning was cold and gray. But inside the tall glass building, something even colder was happening. A betrayal. The woman walked into the building early, before anyone else arrived. She wore a black suit, simple but powerful. Her face was calm. Her steps were slow, steady. She had heard the news. A secret meeting. Some board members wanted to vote her out. They said she was causing too much noise. They said her actions were bad for business. But she wasn't afraid. She had faced worse. She reached the top floor, where the boardroom waited. Inside, the room was already half full. Some people looked nervous. Others looked smug. The senior board member, Mr. Harris, sat at the head of the table. He didn't even stand when she walked in. Well, he said, smiling slightly, I didn't expect you so early. I didn't expect betrayal, she replied, standing at the far end of the room. He cleared his throat. Let's stay professional. We're just here to talk. To vote, she corrected. You want to remove me. There was silence. Then Mr. Harris finally stood. Let's be honest, he said. This campaign of yours, the investigations, the public speeches, the drama, it's making people uncomfortable. She stared at him. Uncomfortable for who? The ones doing wrong. Another board member joined in. You've gone too far. You're attacking your own company. I'm protecting it, she said firmly, from rot inside the walls. Mr. Harris shook his head. That's not how the world works. You're strong, yes. You've built a legacy, but now you're playing with fire. She walked closer to the table. No, she said softly. I am the fire. The room went quiet. Then she pulled out a file and dropped it on the table. What's this? Harris asked. Evidence, she said. Emails, messages, deleted files, payments sent to silence people, all linked to you and your allies. Eyes widened around the room. She turned to face each board member. Before you vote, know this, if I go down, the truth goes public. Every name, every crime, every secret. A woman at the far end leaned forward. You would destroy the company. No, the CEO said. You already did. I'm trying to save it. Mr. Harris's smile faded. He picked up the file, flipped through the pages. His hands shook. You wouldn't dare. She didn't flinch. Try me. Then the door opened. Her assistant walked in, holding a tablet. There's more, he said. A whistleblower just stepped forward. She worked under Harris. She has recordings. He played one clip. Mr. Harris's voice came from the speaker. She's just a symbol. Let her stay for the photos. We make the real decisions. Gasps filled the room. Some board members pushed back their chairs. Others looked down in shame. The truth was now in the light. The power was shifting. Finally, one board member stood. Enough. I vote to keep our CEO in her place. Not because of fear, but because she's the only one actually protecting this company. Another member followed, then another. Mr. Harris sat down slowly, his face pale. The vote was over. She had won. Outside, the woman stood by the window, looking out at the city. Her assistant walked up beside her. "You were brave," he said. "No," she replied. "I was tired. Tired of being silent. Tired of pretending everything was fine." He nodded. "What now?" She smiled softly. "Now, we rebuild. With truth, with strength, with justice." Suddenly, her phone buzzed. A new message, from a name she hadn't seen in years. Her father. It simply said, "I saw the news. I'm proud of you. You became everything they said you couldn't." Her eyes filled with quiet tears. But she stood tall, because she knew this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. Cliffhanger. But as she turned from the window, her assistant looked pale. "Ma'am, we found something else." "What is it?" "The corruption. It didn't start here. It started 10 years ago. In the bank you once worked for. The one you left in silence." She froze. The past was coming back, and it had unfinished business. The room fell silent as the words sank in. "The corruption started 10 years ago, in the bank you once worked for." The woman didn't speak. She just stared at her assistant, her eyes cold, filled with old pain. That bank. She hadn't thought about it in years. She had buried the memories deep, so deep that even she forgot how much it had hurt. She turned away from the window and slowly sat down. "Tell me everything," she said. Her assistant opened a file. There were documents hidden in the archives, financial reports, internal memos, all leading back to your old branch. Her breath caught in her chest. "That bank, it wasn't just unfair," she whispered. "They destroyed people." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with memory. 10 years ago, she was a young employee at that bank. Bright, full of ideas, hardworking. But they didn't see her that way. To them, she was just the diversity hire, someone to show off, not to listen to. She remembered the way they looked at her, the way they spoke over her, the way they laughed behind closed doors. And then, they set her up. A mistake in the numbers, a missing signature, something small, but they blamed her. She lost her job. She lost her reputation. And she almost lost her dream. But she didn't stop. She started over. She worked day and night, built her own company from nothing, and became one of the most respected CEOs in the country. And now, the same bank that tried to ruin her was linked to the corruption inside her own company. Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't just business anymore," she said. "It's personal." Her assistant leaned closer. "What are you going to do?" She stood up slowly. "We're going back, to the place it all started." The next morning, she arrived at the old bank branch. It looked the same, clean, cold, and polished on the outside. But she knew the truth that hid inside. She stepped through the doors, her heels clicking against the floor. A few people recognized her. Their eyes widened in surprise. She smiled politely, then asked to speak with the manager. A young man led her into an office. The manager stood up, clearly nervous. He had read about her. He knew who she was. But still, he tried to act confident. "Ms. Williams, how can we help you today?" She placed a folder on the desk. "I want to speak with your legal department." The manager blinked. "Why?" She opened the folder. "These are records from 10 years ago. Hidden documents. Proof of internal fraud. Discrimination. Cover-ups." The man looked pale. "I wasn't here then." "But your company was," she said sharply. She leaned forward. "I lost everything because of this place. But I rebuilt it. And now, I'm not here to complain." She stood tall. "I'm here to clean up what you buried." Back at her office, she called a press conference. Cameras flashed. Reporters gathered. The world watched. She stepped up to the podium, holding the old documents in one hand and new evidence in the other. She didn't speak like a CEO. She spoke like a woman who had been silenced and had found her voice again. "This is not just about me," she said. "This is about every person who was told they were not enough. Every person who was pushed out, ignored, or mistreated." Her voice was calm, but powerful. "We all have scars. But sometimes scars become stories, and stories can bring change." She paused. "This bank tried to break me, but I came back stronger, and now I'm holding them accountable." That night, she sat alone in her office. She looked out at the city lights. She felt tired, but also free. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from her past. She had faced it, and she had won. Cliffhanger. Suddenly, her phone rang. A strange number. She answered it. A man's voice came through, low and cold. "You should have stayed quiet. You think this is over. You've just opened the wrong door." She froze. The real enemy had just revealed himself, and he wasn't finished. The voice on the phone was cold. "You should have stayed quiet. You think this is over. You've just opened the wrong door." The line went dead. She stood frozen in the middle of her office. Her heart was steady, but her mind raced. This wasn't just about a few corrupt employees. This was bigger, much bigger. Someone powerful was watching, someone who didn't want the truth to come out. She sat down slowly, her fingers gripping the edge of her desk. Her assistant entered the room and saw the look on her face. "What happened?" he asked. "They called," she whispered. "They know I found something." He frowned. "Who?" "I don't know yet, but they're scared." The next day, she met with her legal team and trusted allies. They went through every document, every record, every name. That's when they found it. A hidden account, a secret list, and at the top of that list was a name she never expected. Mr. Harris. He wasn't just part of the recent board betrayal. He had been part of the cover-up 10 years ago. He worked with the bank's top directors back then. He helped frame her. He helped silence whistleblowers. He made money by hiding the truth. He had been the shadow behind the curtain all along. She stood up. Her voice was quiet, but sharp. "He's not just a greedy man," she said. "He's dangerous." Later that evening, she requested a meeting with the full board, again. When she entered the room, Mr. Harris was already there, pretending nothing was wrong. He smiled at her, but she didn't smile back. "I know what you did," she said, placing a thick file on the table. He raised an eyebrow. "I've done many things." She opened the folder. "This one ruined lives. And now, it ends with you." The board members watched in silence as she laid out everything. Fake reports, hidden funds, messages from 10 years ago, witnesses who were paid to lie. Mr. Harris's smile faded. "You can't prove all of this," he said, sweating. She stared at him. "I don't have to. The media already has it." He froze. "You leaked this," he whispered. "No," she said. "I released it. Because secrets protect power, but truth protects people." The news broke within hours. CEO exposes decade-long corruption tied to former bank scandal. Black woman fights back and wins. Social media exploded with support. People who had been silent for years started to speak out. Old employees from the bank came forward. Harris was arrested. So were others. The bank launched a public apology. And the woman, she didn't celebrate. She simply went home. That night, she sat by her window with a cup of tea. The city lights blinked in the distance. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was another unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A soft, shaky voice came through. "I worked under Harris 10 years ago. I saw what they did to you. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. I was afraid." She closed her eyes for a moment. "Thank you," she said gently. "It's not too late." Weeks passed. She started a new campaign, not for power, not for fame, for truth, for fairness, for people who never had a voice. She created a fund to help employees who were pushed out unfairly. She visited schools and shared her story. She stood in rooms where people once laughed at her, and now they listened. One day, a young girl approached her after a speech. The girl's eyes sparkled with hope. "Did you ever think of giving up?" she asked. The woman smiled. "Many times," she said, "but every time I was pushed down, I stood back up stronger." The girl nodded. "I want to be like you." She gently placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. "No," she said, "be better than me. Break every wall. Change every rule. Make them listen."